to the Uptown Girls podcast. I'm your host, Martina Barley. Let's talk. I did the drums for that intro.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. Really? Imagine.
She's multi-talented.
Welcome, everyone, to the Uptown Girls podcast. I'm Martina, obviously. Remember when Nick Lachey said that on Love is Blind? He was like, this is my wife, Vanessa, and I'm obviously Nick Lachey. That's me. I have one of my favorite people ever here joining us today. Her name is Kendra. How do I say your last name? Just introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Kendra
Worley.
And I'm very happy to be here today with Martina, obviously.
So who is Kendra? I first met Kendra. So I've shopped for many wedding dresses in my life, both for myself, for my friends. And I've never had quite as special of an experience as and I really, truly mean that, as we had with you for Marissa's wedding. So I was a maid of honor at my cousin's wedding, and we went to a bridal shop, and we just fell in love. It was like a magical experience. And you and Marissa especially became really close after that, because you are somebody that just is very easy to click with and bond with. And that's like the perfect quality for being in the wedding industry. So what I brought you here today to talk about is not science. It is...
Shoot.
I know. I want to talk about, well, I originally wrote the business of weddings, but it's really like the economy of weddings.
Yeah.
Like, weddings are not even a business. They're a whole economy.
Yeah.
So to start, tell us how you got into the wedding industry.
Yeah. So when I graduated from college, which was back in May of 2016, I was never one of those people who grew up and I was like, I know exactly what I want to do. I kind of just fell into a position at a bridal boutique. Kind of thought I was going to work there part-time until I kind of figured out what I wanted to do. Ended up falling in love with it. Fast forward, I ended up working there for about 6.5 years. And then about a year ago, I left that position. Fast forward a couple months later, I was actually on the phone with Marissa, who now is one of my very close friends. And she somehow got herself into the situation that she was going to be part of a bridal shoot with her florist.
Oh,
and she jokingly kind of just said, can you just come and zip me and get me dressed and then leave? And I was like, yeah, no problem. And then I was like, why isn't that something that people do?
Yeah.
So that is kind of how, and then, a lot more behind the scenes work went into it. But that is kind of how by Kendra Nicole, Bridal Concierge was born.
And that is how the best businesses are born, is out of a need, right? You're solving a problem. So kind of give a summary of by Kendra Nicole, who I used for my wedding, and I have a lot to say about it, but you tell us about it first.
Yeah, so obviously I love the bridal industry. I love the fashion of it. I love the special connection that you have with brides. You know what I mean? It's really unlike any other experience you're going to have in your life is, shopping for a wedding dress or shopping, for pieces that you're going to wear on your rehearsal dinner or your honeymoon or bachelorette or, anything really wedding related. So I kind of have two different paths or, services that I offer with by Kendra Nicole. One being Bridal Concierge, which is my day of services. So, it's anything from me coming and steaming the dress, the veil, bridal party dresses, mother of the bride dresses, doing all that, helping you get dressed, veil placement, coordination, during photos, being responsible for the train and, for the veil, repackaging the dress at the end of the night. If someone's going to do an outfit change. The way I kind of like to describe Bridal Concierge is kind of like a professional bridesmaid, but you're not putting me in your wedding. You know what I mean?
And the other thing too that I was thinking about was Are some of those duties a bridesmaid could do? Yeah, but they shouldn't for two reasons. One, they're not professionals. Those dresses are complicated. There's so much material and buttons and fabric, and like it's really easy to screw it up. Number two, your friends paid so much money. They went through so much stress. They bought so many dresses for different events to be in your wedding. And then on top of all that, on the day of, you're going to make them steam a dress for you and like talk to your photographer. Like,
Yeah.
just let the girls enjoy their day. They went through a lot for you.
Totally. And especially when it comes to like steaming or bustling, I mean, every dress is different and every fabric is different. And I've literally heard like horror stories of like someone burning a dress or burning a veil, or like one of my like closest friends forgot to put her veil in on her wedding day. Like literally bought like a $500 veil and then just forgot about it. So that's kind of like the purpose of bridal concierge, is to be like just another person in the room that can be responsible for these things that like your bridal party, yes, in theory could do, but like should not be doing.
Should not.
And then the other, kind of aspect of by Kendra Nicole is the bridal styling. So, I offer anything from, boudoir photos to bachelorette styling, obviously like day of styling. I have girls who have hired me to go dress shopping with them, to have like a professional opinion there and someone who is like an unbiased third party to kind of like guide them to, ultimately their dream dress.
That says so much about you that like when you go to a shop for a wedding dress, there's salespeople there to help you, but people are paying you to be there to help them instead because you're that much better. But really, I will never forget on my wedding day, like there was somebody there that was just driving me insane. One of the vendors was driving me up the wall. And like, this is not in your bridal concierge description, but Kendra was like, no problem. Took her outside and we're like, you need to leave her alone. I've got everything handled from here. Like this was a pretty big vendor at my wedding. And I was like, I don't want this woman near me at all. And Kendra was like, say no more. And I didn't see the woman for the rest of the night. You did all the flower. Like it was just having you that I kept saying you were like my aide. I was like an older person that needed help, and like you were my aide with me. So yeah, I love it. I think it's the best thing. And it's just kind of like speaks to how the wedding industry has grown so much that there's like new, like an economy, there's new jobs popping up, right? Yeah. New businesses, new jobs. What have you seen as like the biggest change in the industry since you started?
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, a dress that 6 years ago maybe cost $1,500 is now $3,000. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think just naturally with like inflation and how the world works and post-COVID, like, costs are up. But I think now, and especially with now we're all on TikTok, we're all on Instagram, it's people really truly do want their day to be perfect. You know what I mean? So having these extra vendors that even, when I first started, 7-8 years ago, didn't really exist. Like, I mean, even like the presence of like photo booths, of having like, I mean, yes, like I think wedding planners existed, but not to the extent that they exist now. I don't know a lot of people, at least that I work with, that don't at least have a coordinator or, or someone. And that's in addition to someone that is working at the venue.
Right. And that's something like you don't even realize that like a wedding planner could help you the whole process, but then there's the day of coordinator, which could be the same person, could be someone different, could be somebody you brought in. The venue's probably going to have, not my venue, the venue's probably going to have, actually, he was a great day of coordinator for me. But yeah, like there's multiple different people that are your wedding planners now, or it's not like J-Lo in the movie,
Right. And there's so many extras too. And it's like even the thought of like putting together your like bridesmaid's proposal gift. Like that wasn't a thing. You know what I mean? And now it's like, for some people, that's like the end all be all of like putting together these boxes. And, you know, or finding what everyone's going to get ready of morning of. Like that's a huge stressor for people.
Yes, the custom stuff. And then there's the bachelorette. What's going to be our matching look? Like it's exploded, and 100% comes down to social media.
Yeah.
This didn't exist when we weren't trying to show everything that we were doing.
Exactly.
It's like made this normal, traditional, like you love somebody and you want to spend the rest of your life with them, have a ceremony, put on a beautiful dress, eat some cake and dance. And now it is like this year-plus long festival.
Totally.
It feels like your birthday from the day you get engaged until your honeymoon ends, really. It's like an extended birthday.
Yeah.
It's so great. What do you like? Okay, so we said the photo, because what are some things you see people spending money on that they didn't before? But I think we really just went over all that.
I mean, I think like some sort of like photo video add-on is, I don't know if I've been to a wedding within like the last couple of years that like hasn't had one of those. You know what I mean? I did a wedding in Buffalo a few weeks ago, or not a few weeks ago, but in August. And they had, I can't remember the name of the business, but it's like an old vintage, like VW, like bus that comes into the venue, and they take photos in it. It's like a photo booth, but it's like a renovated van. It's so cool.
Wait, when you said old vintage, I was thinking you were talking about the phone. Have you seen that thing? It's like an old vintage rotary phone. And your guests can leave you voicemails during the reception. And then you get all these voicemails on... We had a video, like, interviewing booth, like, where people could sit down with a microphone and leave us a message. Like, what is that?
But that's the thing. It's like there's so many cool things that are available to people. And I think that's really how people can make the day their own. You know what I mean? Even just like with decor, with cakes, with florals. It's like, it's not like you just have to do, okay, well, my bouquet is going to be white roses and that's it. And, and it's like nothing is cookie cutter anymore.
Right. Do you see an increase in stress in brides?
I think so. And I think that's why a lot of brides appreciate my services, because it's kind of
taking the pressure off.
Yeah. And I had one client tell me that, she had like decision fatigue. Yeah. And it's like, she's like, I just want to look at two things and be able to pick one and be done with it. So it's from a styling standpoint, that I think is super helpful for people who are just super overwhelmed and kind of exhausted by the process. Because I think as fun as it is, I think it can also be really exhausting and overwhelming for some people. Yeah. If you're not like super into the entire planning process.
I was going to say, I feel like I was pretty super into the planning process. I didn't need a lot of help making decisions, but still, when it got to be time for like my bachelorette dress and my rehearsal, I was like, I never want to buy another white dress again. It's just so much. And because of the internet, you could shop for years.
Exactly.
So it's like so nice when you would send me those like mood boards. Yes. It was like this, and this. These are all things that like you're so good at style that you could look at somebody's Instagram and know like, okay, they would like this. This would look good on them. It's just your thing. But yeah, that was the stress comes from, at least for me, and I'm sure for a lot of people, it comes from like endless options. Yes. There are endless options. There is no shortage of decisions to make. Exactly. And it's like, how over the top and people are like, it's one day, but this is your one day.
Exactly. And yes, like I think it's important to like to keep in mind that it's like, yes, like this, like it is one day, but to your point, it's like, well, this arguably is going to be like one of like the most important days or like the most fun day of your life. So it's like, I get wanting it to be perfect. Yeah. You know what I mean? And wanting it and wanting everything to be the way that you want it.
Yeah. Do you think that it's getting kind of like oversaturated as a vendor. Like there's an increase in vendors offering different services or a lot of the same service or anything.
Honestly, I feel like it's one of those things, and it's like there's kind of room for everyone. You know what I mean? Because I think it's like everyone has a purpose, and everyone has like their own like view or their own personal style that they're bringing to whatever service that they're offering. You know what I mean? It's like if we use a DJ, for example, it's not like, I mean, there's so many different DJs, and people book different DJs because of
they connect with them.
Exactly. And of like personal connection or like, you know, their style or whatever it is. So, and I think the same goes for like wedding planners or day of coordinators or florists. It's like, there's so many amazing, talented florists, but people book different florists because they have different tastes
or just connections.
Exactly.
And, that's a good point there. And I feel like more people are getting married, but maybe it's because I just see what more people are doing because of social media.
Yeah. I think it's like, right. Again, I think it goes back to social media. It's like, we're all, as much as I'm like, I hate being on Instagram, like we're all on Instagram 8,000 hours a day. Yeah. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I think it's hard to not notice when it's like, oh, wow, this person got engaged. Yeah. Oh, they're at their bachelorette party. Oh my gosh, they got married over the weekend.
They did this at their bachelorette. Exactly. I want to do this, whatever. Yeah. Yeah, it is like a just big... It's just a big expo. Instagram is one big expo.
No, honestly, though, I think that's kind of like a great way to put it. Because it is. It's like, everyone says this, but it's like a highlight reel. You know what I mean? Everyone's posting like all the fun stuff they do. Yeah,
you don't see like the girl stressing out on their wedding day because she hates her vendor. What would you say are some of the biggest stresses that happen on the day of?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's, and you honestly were like very calm day of. Like I think you were just in like a really good headspace, for the exception of, you know, being annoyed by someone. But that was like easily taken care of. So we were like literally no problem. But I think it's like, I think it's nerves. You know what I mean? I think there's so many moving pieces. And I think what's hard too is when I know that I've had friends who have done like a lot of like DIY kind of things, or like they're the ones setting up morning of. And personally, I don't think I could ever be in that position, like on my wedding day. You know what I mean? It just seems like there's so much else that you are supposed to be doing other than like putting candles on a table. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's why I think to have a peaceful morning before you walk down the aisle, I think that is like,
you can't be doing any work.
Yeah. I think that is priceless to be able to delegate that to someone else. I think sometimes there can be like some, you know, like some miscommunication, or sometimes like people are running behind schedule. But I think at the same time, like my mentality, at least towards it, it's like, well, you're the bride and really nothing is going to be able to happen without you. So if we're running 15 minutes late, who cares? You know what I mean?
This is on your time.
In the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, you know?
Have you seen weddings like Sheena's first wedding where like the music's late. She like wants to do her dance at a certain time and she just throws a fit. Like she's somebody that I would be like, she did that wedding at least, did not enjoy her wedding day.
No.
Have you seen that in real life?
I would say have been fortunate enough to not experience that in real life. I feel like I've heard stories of like kind of like crazy things like that happening. But I would say I have been fortunate enough to not experience that.
Being in this industry, do you feel like it makes you want to get married more or less?
I don't know. I think I will be the type of person that like when I do get married, it's like, I think I kind of know what I want. Yeah. And like I've seen a lot. So it's like, I think at least in my head, and this could be 100% delusional,
Yeah.
but I think at least in my head, it's like, ideally I would have it be just a very smooth process because I think I know like what I would book, who I would use, yada, yada. I think like the fashion aspect of it would be more stressful to me.
Because there's just so many options and you want to nail it.
And exactly. Yeah. And then I would like be putting pressure on myself.
That's what I think I remember feeling is like, okay, this is the rehearsal dinner dress. It has to be the best rehearsal dress
to ever exist.
Yeah, it is a lot. The more you are into it, the more the pressure is on because it's like, I think everyone should get married in 5 months like I did. I cannot imagine the people that are engaged for a year, 2 years, like just dragging out the whole... I mean, I get why people do, obviously. But
well, I think it's like a different type of stress. You know what I mean? I think one of the, I guess, advantages to planning a wedding in like that shorter, like 5-6 month time frame, it was like, okay, these are my options. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to pick X, Y, Z. Yeah. This is now done. Move on. You know what I mean? Yeah. Where I think, and I would say like a quote unquote like traditional engagement is probably I think at this point, just because vendors are booked, venue, you know what I mean? I think in upstate New York really is like a wedding hotspot right now, you know what I mean? With, you know, the Finger Lakes and so many beautiful venues. A lot of venues book out 18 to 24 months out, you know what I mean? So if you're one of those people that's like, I know I want to get married here, or I really want this specific photographer, you'll wait for it. Yeah. But I think with that comes, it's like, okay, and, you know, ideally you're going to buy your dress 12 to 18 months out, you know what I mean? You say yes, you book it, and then it's like, it doesn't just go away. Right. Like you're still scrolling Instagram. You're still on Pinterest. New collections are coming out. Like I think that's when in my previous position, that was something that I dealt with a lot, was like kind of like the second guessing of like, is it too soon? Did I pick the right dress? What if I don't like it when it comes in?
Did people ever... Besides me, did people ever return wedding dresses?
Yeah, so I was in a position where like when you purchase your dress and you signed on the dotted line, it was a final sale item. So it, you know, once we play again, it's great.
Well, it's great as a store. Yeah. It's great that like the wedding industry, I feel like vendors can be like, this is how I work. Yeah. You can take it or leave it, because everybody's so in demand that you don't have to bullshit with people that are like, well, I might want to return this in a month. You know, like, nope, you want this dress. This is your dress. What it is.
Yeah. It is what it is. And even as black and white as you can make things, I mean, there's a human factor to it. You know what I mean? There's extenuating circumstances. Yeah. There's, you know, crazy things that happen. And I think that can be hard to kind of justify, like, still, well, I don't care what it is. It's still, you know, or whatever it is.
How often do you experience a runaway bride?
Not often.
Oh. I don't mean like they run away on a horse on the day of the wedding. I mean like a broken engagement. Like somebody buys their dress, starts to plan their wedding, and then they're like, this isn't happening anymore. Asking for a friend.
Oh, well. Okay, so if we take away the horseback aspect of it, then I would say currently in my life, not that often, because I feel like I start working with people, I guess, at all different phases of it. You know what I mean? You know, knock on wood, like I personally have not, in my new venture, have not worked with a runaway bride. I think previously, I don't know, maybe like 10 to 15%. So not massive, but I mean, it definitely happened. Yeah. Definitely happened, especially during COVID. I think it was a really hard time for people, and
it caused more breakups.
Yeah, and I think like people kind of just had different priorities during that time. So it's like maybe they weren't going to do a huge wedding and, they just did something small or decided to not proceed with the relationship or whatever it is. But
okay, I'm going to shift gears. I have a few questions like this. So the first is, what do you think is the most iconic celebrity wedding dress?
Any celebrity, not
I'm going to ask Bravo separately.
Thank you.
So
okay,
just
no problem.
like
no problem.
A-list stars.
Oh, interesting. Well, so if I'm going to be completely honest, I have always, and it's not because I love this specific celebrity, because I do, and they can do no wrong in my eyes, but I specifically love the simplicity and the elegance and honestly the timelessness of Beyonce's wedding dress.
Oh.
Which I think is not something that a lot of people pick, but it was just clean and beautiful and elegant, and I think was not like over the top by any means, and
timeless is so important.
Yeah. So I love hers. If I had to pick a second, no one, because no one beats Beyonce.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah, thank you.
Now I want to know in general, like until your wedding, what is your favorite Bravo wedding?
Aside from the obvious answer, which is Teresa.
Teresa's wedding
obviously,
special,
Teresa and Louis, obviously, because that was, I've never seen something quite like that in my life.
Yeah.
Cowboy steaks 10, flowers 10, dress 10, everything was 10. So I think it's kind of a tie for me. I loved Amanda and Kyle's wedding from Summer House. That was like so beautiful to me. It was and honestly, her dress was so pretty.
Great dress.
I loved Amanda's dress. Again, like very like clean simple lines.
Yeah. But she's stunning, so it was
gorgeous.
Like amazing. Yeah.
Right. It was all about her. Her hair was beautiful, and it was really just like so many beautiful flowers, and just kind of felt like effortless. I also loved Stassi's wedding in Italy. I loved her dress, and hers was just totally different. It was so moody, so very like deep, romantic kind of feel. Honestly, unfortunately, for the Real Housewives, there is not one beautiful wedding happening. And I say that with love, but unfortunately, it's really hard to think of someone on a Real Housewives franchise that I was like, that was stunning.
They are listening, so.
Yeah. This does not apply to Ramona and Mario's vow renewal.
Oh my gosh.
Sorry, at Bravo Andy. But I think that's also like my taste. You know what I mean? It's like, I think if I were to have to swap spaces with someone and like that be my wedding, I would pick Amanda and Kyle.
Yeah.
Not saying I would want to marry Kyle.
Yeah.
But like that is a very beautiful wedding to
It was
me.
beautiful, and I love that they did it in her backyard. Like it looked like a venue. They
Literally.
paid a shit ton to make it look like an
100%.
actual venue, but it was just so cute that it was their house.
Yeah.
What do you love the most about weddings in general?
I really love...
Wait, let me rephrase this, because that was very vague.
Okay.
What's your favorite moment on a wedding day that you're working?
I love right before, like, you walk down the aisle. Like, that final, like, train fluff is, like, just such a special moment.
Give me chills.
I know.
Oh, it is the
I
best.
know.
And you're there with all your bridesmaids and your dad and your mom, and it's just like...
And it's like...
Showtime.
Yes. And it's like, I think on your wedding day, too, it was like you and your dad were standing there, and it was just, like, so cute and so sweet. And it's like all the girls looked so good, and they're all lined up. And then it's like Aaron turns, and it was just, like, so pure. You know what I mean? Literally.
Yeah.
That is my favorite moment.
You love the, like... anticipation and like we're here because it's like 2 different days almost. It's like you're trapped in a room, there's champagne, there's donuts, there's bagels, you're all in a matching little outfit, there's people flying around everywhere, and you're just like la da 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 da. Everyone just fluffed me all day, And then once you get like through the ceremony, it's like, this person makes you go here. This person makes you go here. This person, come stand here. I need you here in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I was like, I just do what I want to do? But no, I couldn't.
No.
It's hard. It's a lot of structure.
Exactly. Yeah.
And it's hard because there's so many different people in charge of what they're in charge of. So it's like, there's too many cooks in the kitchen. That like, the DJ's like, no, come here, follow my timeline. The photographer's like, no. We want you over here. It's just like, who's in charge here?
Correct.
I thought I was in charge, but I don't feel like
not.
it.
No, unfortunately.
Yeah. Okay. That's your favorite moment. What is your favorite thing to style for besides the wedding?
Honestly, I think like rehearsal dinner is really fun because I think that sets the tone for the weekend. Because I also feel like weddings aren't just a day anymore. You know what I mean? It's sometimes if it's like a destination wedding, it's welcome drinks, it's rehearsal dinner, it's the wedding day, and then you're doing like a send-off brunch.
Yeah.
So I think rehearsal dinner / welcome drinks is like a really fun thing to style because I kind of feel like it's one of those things that people overlook and kind of leave to like last minute. But it really does set the tone for the whole wedding. I also think that's a great opportunity to like incorporate pieces that like you want to wear on your wedding day, but you don't actually want to wear. And what I mean by that is like, maybe it's like a mom's earring or like a grandma's necklace or something. And it's
sentimental or
or like, you know, someone gave you this bracelet and it would mean a lot to wear it. And like, you want to do it, but maybe it just like doesn't fit with your vision for the day. I think that's a great opportunity to incorporate those pieces and not have it be like the focal point on your wedding day.
Right.
It's also a good time to do like a fun kind of like trendier piece. You know what I mean? Like I love the idea of doing like a really pretty like satin or like silk or a Mikado like suit for a rehearsal dinner.
Ooh,
you know what I mean?
It's
just like something cool and fun and funky. But it's still really polished and pretty. And then create like such a fun kind of like contrast to like what you're wearing the next day.
Right. What advice do you have? Because it is so popular and we know social media has just turned it into an expo, as we said. But as a vendor that is marketing themselves, what advice would you give?
I think you mean like as far as like finding vendors for your wedding day?
No, I mean, if I'm a vendor and I want to market myself to brides.
I think you have to, well, you and I were kind of just talking about this the other day. I think you have to market yourself as if you are solving a problem. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that I'm like currently working on and like trying to identify how to do. I think it's also like, I use my business Instagram, like my business page, as like just like an extension of myself. You know what I mean? I think it's important to stay genuine to who you are. I think that's how sometimes people can end up, quote unquote, like booking the wrong vendor.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you're not getting to know that person. You know what I mean? So I think it's important.
It's not authentic.
Yeah. I think it's important to do your research and look at reviews and, you know, ask like a friend of a friend that you know who used that person. Like, hey, what genuinely, what was your experience with them? Because I think that says a lot about how a person can interact and like what their presence is like on day of or, you know, whatever it is.
Yeah. Because you're around your vendors so much of the day.
Yeah.
So if you don't like them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You want people that you love being around.
Yeah.
And 99% of my vendors I loved so much.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
But yeah, you have to, and same thing for a vendor. Maybe they don't want to work with a bride that is just a nightmare or crazy or, you know, demanding.
Absolutely. I think that's something that is kind of becoming more of like a norm in the industry. I know a couple of photographers who do this, and I think it's just such a great idea. They do kind of like a video consult or like they'll meet for coffee just to like make sure that like, okay, like we're on the same page.
Vibe?
Yeah, because I think to your point, I can't think of anything more awkward than having my photo taken by someone and it's like, I feel weird, they feel weird.
Yeah.
Like, it's bizarre,
Yeah.
you know?
And this is so like hippie-ish, but like people's energy is something you'll only notice if you like do a Zoom call or do an in-person meeting. Like maybe their work isn't like your favorite thing ever, but you just love them so much as a person that you're like, I want you there and just do what I say and
correct.
whatever.
Right. Let me just set some guidelines.
Yes. Talk a little bit about like using the visuals in your marketing, because you are one of the industries that gets a lot of visual content. Like my industry, nothing visual.
Correct.
But you get to do all kinds of things. Like what are the ups and downs of that?
Yeah. So when I mean, by no means am I sitting here and I'm like, I got so much content. I'm doing great. Like, I think it's always a work in progress. You know what I mean? One thing that I do like on my social media, which I mean, really is like the majority of my marketing, you know what I mean? Like, that's what it is. Is like me creating this like social media persona, and having these, you know, little pages. I think there's, especially for me, there's a lot I can work with. So I focus on like shoots that I have been like fortunate enough to be a part of, like styled shoots. I focus on like wedding days of my clients that like people send me, you know, and, you know, as long as they're okay with it, like, you know, like I've posted photos of you on my Instagram.
Always okay with that. Encouraging.
You're like, I only want, it's just a Martina fan page.
Yeah.
I've done like, you know, posting some like mood boards of like what I've styled for clients and then posting like the final, like the final photo of like what it is.
Do you have like a LinkTree where you could like post the mood boards and then like post the links, like click to buy?
No, but I should get one of those. Like, I should do that.
You should do that.
You're really saving the brand.
Well, I'm not saving it. I am just so passionate about it because I know how, like, it's almost indescribable, like, what you did. And yes, you steamed the dresses. Yes, you made sure all the guys had their flowers right. You did extra stuff, but like, your presence was so valuable. I would have had you be there just to stand next to me and talk to me, you know?
Oh, now I'm going to cry.
It's true though. So yeah, that's why like I just simply love marketing and I think of ideas all the time. But that because like even if you go back and you take the mood board that you made me and just link everything and post it, like that's like passive styling for people.
Yeah.
And then you can make a little from the
a couple, 2, 3s.
Like to know. What's it called? Like to
LTK. Yeah. Like to know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I try to keep my Instagram like as authentic
genuine,
as can be, because I think it's like I could sit there all day and post like, you know, random stuff but it's just like to me, I'm not going to post anything unless I feel like it kind of has a purpose, you know what I mean? I'm not posting and maybe this isn't like the best marketing plan for myself, but it's like I'm not going to just post random stuff every single day just for the sake of posting it.
Well, I think that's what makes it authentic, is because when people post because they're like, okay, I have to meet my 3 posts a week.
Right.
Here's this canned bullshit that like doesn't connect with me, doesn't connect with my audience.
Exactly.
I do it the same way. If something comes into my mind, great, I'll post it.
Yeah.
If it doesn't, I'm not going to say something just to say something.
Right. Yeah, it's just, and I like to post like, you know, on my business, I mean on both, but on, obviously I follow like a lot of different designers or different like curated collections, and, you know, I enjoy reposting that stuff because it's like, it's fun and it's different, and I think it's inspiring for people to see like, okay, well, not everyone has to be in this lace fit and flare with a spaghetti strap, and there's nothing wrong with that. But it's, I think the beauty of bridal fashion is that there is so much, and it's really, like, there's no end to it, which, like we said, can be good or bad. But I think it's like the one day where you really get to be in something that you love and you feel like the best version of yourself in. So it's like, I just to me, I don't settle. You know what I mean? Say yes when
with your husband either.
Also correct.
You know?
Yeah. Yes. But I think it's like one of those things where, yes, there's so much to it, but I think that's the beauty of it too.
It's like the world is your imagination, Willy Wonka. Like, what did you say? But that also brought up a good point. You're in a very like interconnected industry. So I think that is something that I feel like most business owners can identify opportunity for like referral partnerships,
Totally.
right? So like, how do you do that? Where have you seen success with like photographers or florists or whatever? And how could that like translate to other industries too?
Yeah. I mean, so I would consider myself to be pretty fortunate. I have some really close connections with other wedding industry professionals, whether it's event planners, florists, photographers, caterers, DJs, whatever. And it's nice to be able to not only like have I received referrals from those people, but people will just ask me and be like, hey, like, what do you think about this venue? What do you think about this? Like, do you know anyone for this? And it's like, for me to be able to refer it to like, not only someone that I know who is like absolutely going to like hit it out of the park for this person, but to refer it to someone that like, is now quote unquote, like one of my friends. It's like, that's great. And I think, it's reciprocated too. So I think it's just to be able to refer to people that who are going to do a good job is like priceless.
Yeah.
But with that being said, like I would never refer to someone just because like they're my friend. You know what I mean? Like I think people know that, and I take people who I refer to very seriously.
And it's also like it makes it even more valuable for you to have multiple photographers that because then you can meet with a bride and be like, I don't think you'll love this guy, but try this girl. She'll be a good fit for you.
Exactly.
So like identifying multiple referral partners within each industry. So then you can just like be a little matchmaker.
Yeah. And I think it's great to have like this network of people that like not only you want to support, but like that want to support you. I think that's, it truly is like priceless just to have that within the industry.
How do you become a referable business?
Well, I think it really just comes down to like providing a service or having a product that people can confidently say like, yes, if you work with this person, you are going to have a fantastic experience. Because I think for myself, I would have a hard time referring to someone if it was like even like a 50-50 shot. Like sometimes they're great. Sometimes it's like they're so off. You know what I mean? It's not worth it.
Right.
So I think consistently being able to refer to someone that is going to provide like an outstanding service that holds up to like your expectations and standards. I think that's what it's all about.
You almost just like can't miss.
Yeah.
There's no room to miss a shot, especially with weddings. You have 24 hours. Yeah. There's no room for mistakes really. So you just have to be tip top of your game.
Yeah, exactly. And I think for a vendor, that's a lot of pressure, but I think then it also
weeds out the people that aren't as good.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to be just okay. I don't want to be good 80% of the time.
Yeah.
I want to be great and perfect 100% of the time. You know what I mean?
I also want to be perfect 100% of the time.
Like, I mean, at least like on a wedding day, like, on a Wednesday, don't talk to me. But you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Well, do you have any questions for me? I feel like sometimes I feel like this is a job interview. So do you have any questions for me?
I'd like it to be known that when Martina gave me absolutely zero as to what we would be talking about. Obviously, I kind of knew like, we're going to talk about like the wedding industry. Like, I got no notes. I got nothing. She rolls in with like a binder of receipts as if this is like a housewives reunion. And I'm like, okay. So, no, unfortunately, I don't have any questions. I don't have any questions for you in this job interview.
Well,
am I hired?
You're absolutely hired. I cannot recommend Kendra enough, but also just like such a good perspective on a different industry, an industry that's so like referral based and so visual and so like high stakes. I think wedding industry is high stakes.
I think so too. And I think there's so much. It's hard too because it's also emotion based.
Yes.
So it's not like it's like, okay, well, on paper, this is cheaper, this is more expensive, I'm going to go with the less expensive option. It's like, well, there's so many other factors that go into it. And one of it being like, do you just click with this person? Do you connect with this vendor? Like you brought up like just like people's energy.
Yeah.
Like I really just can't stress that and how important that is enough because it's like, it's kind of like a friendship. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to hang out and be friends with someone who is always bringing you down, always miserable, like just, is being like a Debbie Downer. And you don't want that reflected on your wedding day either. And even, and it goes tenfold when you're actually hiring this person.
Yeah.
So
you're almost like a owner of a football team and you're like drafting your wedding team.
Honestly, like, and I've heard people kind of like say it like that. Like this would be like my dream roster. You know what I mean? Like I feel like I've worked with people who have like said it like that.
Yeah.
And then, and I think it's hard too because there's so many vendors that have such amazing reputations, but get booked so quickly that it's like, okay, then you kind of have to then kind of reassess like, okay, well, is it worth it for me to wait 2 years to get married on this date that this photographer has? But then maybe the venue isn't available or the florist is booked or like hair and makeup is a whole other thing that I like.
There is like triage to planning a wedding. Like what's most urgent? What's most important? What can I compromise on? What do we need to like,
Exactly. And I think, and that's such a great thing to work through with someone with
a professional.
Because they can help you prioritize or figure out what your priorities are on your day. Because I think when you get engaged, it's like, it's hard to be like, okay, well, now I got to go do this and this and this. It's like, I think some people are like that and that's awesome. But I think for the most part, you kind of want to like live in it and enjoy it for a minute. You know what I mean?
Not worry about like the business of it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is. It's like marketing wise, there's a lot of, marketing is marketing. You know what I mean? Like every industry needs it. Yeah. But I think in the wedding and bridal industry specifically, it's so much more emotion based and it's hard to kind of like capture that sometimes.
Business is Personal, Bethany Frankel. Have you read it?
Always.
Yeah. It's true though. Business is personal. And it doesn't matter what anybody says. Business is personal. That's all I have for you. If you have no questions for me, I would love to offer you this opportunity.
Thank you. I'm really excited to accept this position. Yeah. I feel good about it.
Good.
I feel excited.
Will you start this afternoon?
Sure. Awesome. I'm free.
We better get to work then.
Okay.
Thank you
Bye,
so
everyone.
much.
Thank
Bye,
you.
everyone.